Now that we have explored the meaning of earnings per share and earnings per share growth, we will proceed to explore how we use this basic information to develop an insight into share value and potential. We'll also explore how we'll use this information to compare one company against another. Earnings per share is used in several ways to assist in valuing a company. When combining with the share price, earnings per share is used to establish a means of comparing how expensive a share is relative to its sector and market peers. To do this, we use the price to earnings ratio, better known as PE ratio. PE ratio is simply the share price divided by earnings per share. The ratio tells us how much investors are willing to pay for the net profits generated by a company. If a company's share price is 15 and its earnings per share is $1.50, the PE ratio is $15 divided by $1.50, which equals 10. Therefore, it has a PE ratio of 10. What this means is that investors are willing to pay 10 times the annual net profit of this company to own its shares. PE ratios are also used to compare companies from the same sector against each other. For example, if the average PE of all companies in the sector was 14, we would conclude that a company that has a PE of 10 was inexpensive relative to the sector. This means investors are willing to pay an average of 14 times net profit to own a company of a similar type in the same sector. By identifying shares that have low PEs relative to the sector, we may have found good potential value in a company. This is not the only criteria though, because there may be other problems we don't know about yet with this company, but it's a good starting point. Now we combine the PE ratio with earnings per share growth. Remember, earnings per share growth is the forecasted growth of the company, not the historical growth. Now, when we combine these two ratios, we create a measure of good growth at a fair price for that growth. Now let's introduce the PEG ratio, which is the price to earnings growth ratio. To calculate this, we divide the PE ratio by the forecast earnings per share growth percentage. The result is the PEG ratio. The PEG ratio tells us whether the price of a share is fair when we compare it on the basis of the forecast profit growth. If the PEG ratio is greater than 1, we conclude that the cost of the share is high relative to the growth expectations. If the PEG is less than 1, we can conclude that the price is fair relative to growth expectations. So the lower the number, the better. The PEG ratio can demonstrate that companies trading with high PEs may still be good buys if they show strong profit forecasts. So in summary, the PE tells us how much investors are willing to pay for the profits generated by a company. Now this number is meaningless in isolation. The PE relative to the sector tells us how expensive a share is compared to other similar shares. The PEG ratio tells us whether the price of a share is fair when we compare it on the basis of forecasted or